Yo, 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 you know what time it is. It's your boy Cool Eagle back here with a new video. Just want to talk to you guys because, well, do we have a lot to talk about today in the world of Eagles football? Shout out to all my new subscribers. We're slowly growing, slowly but steady. No slow wins the race. We won't cut any corners. We're just getting better every time. And again, I thank you guys so much for each and every one of you that watch this channel. I really do put a lot of work into doing this. But on Eagles news, right? So we're going into another tough matchup in Arlington. You know, the stadium is right down the street from me. I literally stay on the south side of town. That stadium is on the north side of town where I am. So when I think about this, I think about, not only am I not as confident after coming off a serious beatdown by the San Francisco 49ers, a game that even Vegas bettors were saying that the 49ers were a 3-point favorite. Um, Now, as a betting man, I usually go with Vegas, but obviously because of team bias, I took the under as I thought it would be a low scoring game. Just because again, like you have a defense that's been playing so well against the Dolphins, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Bills. You know what I'm saying? Teams with winning records, and then you come into this game, and then you just get shellacked at home. I can't even just recall the last time the Eagles got beat this bad at home. But again, going into this week against Dallas. Like a lot of Eagles fans, because the Eagles fan base is a fan base that is very honest. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. A lot of us, like you, are blue collar workers that have better things to do than live in a delusion of something that we're not. Um, so when I say that, it's clear that a lot of Eagles fans like myself aren't very confident going into this game, even though we can feel confident somewhat from the press conferences of Nick Sirianni talking about, yes, the Philadelphia Eagles should run the ball more. He needs to do a better job at getting his players into better position. And of course, on the defensive side, where a lot of the blame is to be placed, even though the team overall just didn't play well. The defense sub coordinator Sean Desai came out and said that and took accountability like I thought he would, and as he should. This defense gave up 42 points at home. There were a lot of missed tackles on this team. Not a lot of unity during crucial moments. I.e. Sam Bradbury being talked about all offseason as trash, even though the man made All Pro the previous year. Eagles went to the Super Bowl. They got in the middle of his workouts, start booting around, and you really didn't see a lot of rallying around Sam Bradbury. Um, Now, when I think of Sam Bradbury, I think of a guy who's not being put in the right position. I don't think Sam Bradbury wants to go out this way and just have a skill set for bump and run coverage. I think he's one of those cornerbacks that like the clue, kind of like Marcus Peters. He's more of a cluer, so like he likes to undercut the route. He's not a guy that will just go up and bump and run like Darius Slay is. Even though like he did come out on a podcast and say that he's a little bit too old for tackling, which is kind of indicative of what we saw in this game against the 49ers and Seth Joyner's criticism of the Eagles defensive backs, saying that they look disinterested and they're scared to tackle. Now, this was a back and forth on social media as Darius Slay obviously had to come to his own defense, claiming that Seth Joyner was talking at his ass, and that there are a lot of things to take into consideration. Like the team just didn't have a good tackling day for a team that's top 10 in missed tackle percentage. So you can agree with both sides, but you can also be a fan of the tape. Someone that has better things to do than to live in a delusion. You would you would hold Darius Slay accountable. You would be like, well, based off the tape that we've seen, you know, like you haven't been inclined to make that, like make them kind of hits, make those kind of tackles. You kind of want to push him out of bounds or trip him if you can. But I will say this about Darius Slay: a lot of times when I'm watching him in coverage, he does always tend to try to swat the ball out, try to cause a fumble, which is another thing about this Eagles defense. Like, why doesn't this Eagles defense ever get forced fumbles? We know Bradley Roby is a puncher. We know Sidney Evans. I'm sorry, Justin Evans as a guy that can get the ball out. And now we have Shaq Leonard, a guy who's known for getting the ball out. But even then, you still haven't seen a lot of turnovers by this Eagles defense. If you were to tell me who's the best defensive back player on this team, I would have to say Reed Blankenship. And Seth Joyner, in his criticism post the 49ers game, even said the exception is, of course, Reed Blankenship. And I can agree with that. Like from that game in Washington, when we were, I think, in Washington, or I think we were in Philadelphia, and the Washington offense, like any other offense this year, has just like we're just having their way with us, and it didn't seem like the defense just couldn't get a turnover, but and you see Reed Blankenship in the fourth quarter get a much needed interception. It just completely turned the tide of the game. I was at a bar, and I was telling a friend of mine who was watching the game with me, and I told him, it only takes one turnover to really get this team back in action. And again, this goes to the 49ers game where we see Reed Blankenship drop an interception that probably could have turned the tide of the game. I think this was like the second or third quarter. He literally had it in his hands and he just dropped it. And who knows what that interception could have did for the tide of the game for the Eagles versus the 49ers, just because, again, we saw the 49ers go on 6 straight scoring possessions, something that we also seen in the Super Bowl, but for different reasons. For this particular reason, I can't say Sean Desai is a bad coach, like just because, again, we did see the missed tackles. We did see this defense look like they were fatiguing from playing back-to-back Super Bowl contenders. They did look like they just didn't have any gas, because we know what this Philadelphia team represents. It represents, like just grit and resilience. That is something that that is marquee attitude for when it comes to playing in Philadelphia, and just the vibe of Philadelphia. A city of blue collar workers who don't have time to live in a delusion of what their team is not. And right now, the real problem with this Eagles team right now is not the lack of talent, because again, you have a guy who was all pro last year. You have another guy on the other end who made the Pro Bowl last year, and you know what I'm saying, like really revitalized his career when he came to a new situation where he knew there was championship potential. So, and then we got Reed Blankenship, a guy who's proven time and time again that he's not afraid to make those kind of hits, to make an example, to like boost the morale for his team. Very physical safety. The guy kind of reminds me of John Lynch from the Tampa Bay days, man. That safety they used to come down and just crack down on defenders that try to come in the middle like that. That's what Reed Blankenship like just reminds me of, and that's the attitude that this Philadelphia Eagles defense, just didn't have this previous game. I'm not going to say they didn't have it for the previous games, because we won those. But if you look at the games we won, we did give up a lot of yards. Like prior to overtime in that Bills game, the Eagles defense had already given up like 500 yards. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad when you think about it. Just because, and then the previous game before that, you played very well against the defending Super Bowl champions. You let them score 17 in the first half, and you didn't let them score again after that. Now, a lot of people talk about that drop pass with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but not even taking into account that the Eagles still had a minute 40 seconds to go in that game with 2 timeouts, and we know what Jalen Hurts was doing in the last few minutes of the game prior to even that Kansas City game. When he needed to get a score against Dallas, he threw the ball up over the guy who's said to be a defensive player of the year, Deron Bland, to Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith for the touchdown, getting us the lead, and the defense took care of the rest from that because we obviously know what happened late in the third quarter. Jalen Hurts got injured. He went to the blue tent, went to the locker room, came back, and just did the best he could. Obviously they didn't really call any more run plays for him. He didn't really have, uh, so the defense did what they needed to do because they had the attitude, and that's what we just didn't see in this 49ers game, and that's the real problem with the Philadelphia Eagles. Because let me show y'all a graphic that I seen on Twitter. Because we obviously blame the secondary a lot for the miscues on those Debo touchdowns, but let me show y'all something real interesting, right? Not that. Yes. So when we look at the breakdown, Brock Purdy 314 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, way too many, right? We look at who gave up the most. Nicholas Morrow in the linebacking group, and of course Eli Ricks when he gave up that touchdown to Jaquan Jennings in the fourth quarter, making it 42. They really didn't need that 42. The game was already over. But whatever. So we had a serious problem in linebacker coverage that game, like Nicholas Morrow. And let me show you another graphic, just down to that. You know what I'm saying? The man gave up 3 receptions for 107 yards, 98 yards after catch, meaning that he was just bullying. Man, he was just bullying everybody, right? That's what Debo like. In those 3 touchdowns, and those 3 receptions were those 3 touchdowns that Debo scored the game. You know what I'm saying? And then Christian McCaffrey. I was even saying this in a previous video. I seen Nicholas Morrow line up on Christian McCaffrey, and I automatically knew that that's where the 49ers were going to go. I mean, because who wouldn't? It's Christian McCaffrey on a linebacker who, based off these right here, didn't really have a really good game. You know what I'm saying? Because as I said before, we were missing Zach Cunningham, a really good tackler, and maybe mid-cover linebacker, and then we were missing Nakobe Dean. So we're playing with 2 undrafted guys, Ben Van Sumeren and Greg Ellis. Now, I'm not taking anything away from those guys because, again, based off these numbers right here, they didn't really give up a lot of yards. Ellis only gave up like 33. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not, but still, we can talk about how physical the 49ers defense was, especially when it came to the linebacker situation, which they knew that we were having. I'm pretty sure Kyle Shanahan drew up a plan to take advantage of a weak line because like that's what you're supposed to do. Like football is a game of inches and strategy. So if you know that your opponent is coming in with their best linebacker out, they got 2 undrafted rookies. You know what I'm saying? Again, not taking anything away from these guys, but they're undrafted rookies playing against the number 1 offense in the league. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Kyle Shanahan is an offensive genius. No matter how many he's blown in a Super Bowl or in an NFC Championship game, the guy is an offensive genius. And that's what he came into this game with, and a plan to take advantage of those linebackers. And that's where almost half of the yards that the 49ers offense scored that game came from, was from the linebacking group. We gave up 208 yards from the linebacker group alone, but we sit here and talk about the secondary. Blankenship gave up that touchdown in the end zone, which a lot of people are arguing that the ball was moving while he was in possession on the ground. But that's a story for another day, right? Byard only gave up 4 yards. Roby only gave up 15 yards. Slay didn't really have that good of a game, but he only gave up 32 yards. But it's the number of missed tackles, and I wish I had that graphic, but I'm sure there's a graphic out there that last week, week 13 NFL football, the Eagles were not only the worst team in NFL football that Sunday, we probably also missed the most tackles despite being a top 10 team in tackling. You know what I'm saying? According to PFF. So when we go into talking about what is the real problem with the Philadelphia Eagles, it's not talent. It's the mentality and the scheme that we come into these games with. Because you're not telling me we can shut down the Kansas City Chiefs offense, whether they're middling or not, lack of wide receiver group or not. They got the defending Super Bowl champions, and we were managed to shut them down for a half in the rain in their own building. So you're telling me that we can't come up with a better scheme to at least try to keep the game close against the 49ers? Now, I understand losing a close game. If we would have lost like 35 to like 27, I wouldn't have had a problem with it because, again, we talk about how this team came out in the beginning with just scoring 2 field goals instead of being aggressive and trying to score 2 touchdowns. Because then when you start getting to that slow start, the defense is obviously going to be in a slow start, especially a defense that is 32nd on third down conversions. You're keeping these guys on the field. You're putting them out there. You know, mind you, especially when the offense starts stalling out and not scoring drives, you're putting them more out there with less rest. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, the San Francisco 49ers offense and the genius of Kyle Shanahan is going to move a blocker to the right side to stop Hassan Reddick because they were just doing whatever they wanted to on that left side with Josh Sweat and Greg Ellis, Ben Van Sumer, whoever was over on the left side. Because like anytime they pitched the ball to run to the left, they were getting like 8.9 yards like a play on 6 straight scoring drives. So and they were mainly on the left side. All these big plays came to the middle and left side of the field because they know they can't really do anything on the other side because you got Hassan Reddick and you got Nicholas Morrow at least closer to the line of scrimmage to where like, okay, we probably should run to the weak side. And they did that. Williams is an all-pro for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then they got the fullback involved. I mean, like, I can't even pronounce his name right now. My mind's all over the place, but they involved the fullback in the blocking scheme. And Greg Kittle, we know what he represents as a blocker. So this was just a recipe for disaster. And again, this is just the problem with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not talent. It's the mentality of these guys. And again, maybe we can quantify or justify the way we came out on defense to just being fatigued. Because again, you're playing a gauntlet where you're starting to play off the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Bills, and then you got to come and play at home again, you know, versus the number one offense. So maybe this was bound to happen again because I don't think nobody really saw us going undefeated in this gauntlet. I thought that we were going to at least, you know, in a 6-game stretch, I thought we would at least go like 4-2. So right now we're still not far from my own predictions. You know, like we're 5-1. You know what I'm saying? We're going to Dallas. I mean, we'll see what happens. I can't say for sure like that we're going to beat Dallas, but judging on how the Philadelphia Eagles have responded in the past, based off how the Philadelphia Eagles have responded in the past, I am more than confident. I am more than confident that we can go into Arlington and really upset these guys and make a run for the number one seed. Because let me show y'all the schedule, right? And again, thank you guys for watching, man. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. So let me show y'all the games remaining for the top teams in the NFC, because obviously the Eagles are battling for that number one seed. So like, let's take a look, right? The Eagles, obviously, we still have a gauntlet of like 2 games. The Cowboys, we're playing in Arlington, and then we got to go travel again to Seattle to play the Seattle Seahawks. But I'm feeling better about this game just because after we play the Cowboys Sunday night, we have an extra day to get ready for the Seattle Seahawks. And for this team, I think it is much needed. Just because again, you're talking about a defense that's playing a lot of snaps, you know, but they're also not playing very well as well and still trying to get everything sorted. You know, we just got Shaq Leonard, and now we got Zach Cunningham coming off a hamstring injury. So after this game, an extra day's rest means everything. So we're going to play the Cowboys, okay, and then the Seahawks. That's our gauntlet right there, right? So if we can go 2-0 right here, or at least one, or maybe 1-1, because again, if we beat the Cowboys, we still stay a game ahead of the 49ers, right? So if we go into Seattle and we manage to pull something out, because Seattle is not going to be easy. Geno is very underrated at home. The Seattle's very good at home. They have a very good crowd in Seattle. So that one's going to be a tough game. But like, it is what it is. Like, we're going to have to do what we have to do to get that number one seed. Because if we beat the Cowboys, right, and they lose, we stay ahead a game in the NFC, namely the 49ers, right? The 49ers, they play the Seahawks on Sunday. We don't know how that game's going to go because these teams always seem to split every year. So the Seahawks could actually give the 49ers a run for their money, you know what I'm saying? And they just beat each other up. So when we get an extra day's rest like them, we come in looking good. You know what I'm saying? And who knows? Seattle may pull the upset against the 49ers. You know what I'm saying? Now, it won't really hurt the 49ers to lose a game. I mean, especially if Detroit happens to slip to the Bears, which is likely to happen because, again, family business. You know what I'm saying? It's a family business week. It's the Eagles at the Cowboys, the Cowboys versus the Eagles, 49ers versus the Seahawks, Lions at Bears. So a lot is riding this week. A lot can, like the Eagles, that can definitely help their chances at keeping the number one seed by winning this game. But if all these other teams happen to lose, the Eagles would still have the number one seed. Obviously, now they be neck and neck with the Cowboys because then they be 10-3, but we still be number one in the conference because we would still have the better conference record. You know what I'm saying? So, and then after that, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Cowboys got to play the Bills. That's not going to be an easy game because the Bills are trying to stay alive in the playoffs. Because right now they're battling with the Broncos, who have a tiebreaker against them. So they have a lot working against them. So the Cowboys have a tough stretch as well. The Dolphins, like they're playing in Miami. The Cowboys are not a very good road team, especially against a team that runs the ball as well as the Miami Dolphins. All right. And then the 49ers, they have another division game. And Kyler's been looking pretty good. The man has been 2-1 in his last 3 games. He beat a Steelers team that's trying to make the playoffs. And I believe who else did he beat? But I know he's 2-1 in his past 3 games. And he's playing pretty well. He's playing like old Kyler, like he looked like Kyler looked like he hasn't really lost a step. So we can see a lot happen for the 49ers in these next 2 weeks. This is nothing but division games. And then they got to play the Ravens at home. So who knows what the Ravens are going to be like at that point? But that's going to be a very physical game because you have the top defense in the AFC versus the top defense in the NFC going at it, and then both offenses are both predicated off setting up the run to get that play action set up. So they have a very tough stretch of 3 games. They got 2 divisions, and they got a major rival in the AFC. Cowboys, they got us to deal with. They got the Bills and the Dolphins, and then they got to play the Lions, and then they got to play the Commanders, who beat them in the last game of the year last year with Sam Howell. You know what I'm saying? And again, like, I feel more confident about the Eagles stretch because if we beat the Cowboys and then we can somehow scrape out a game against the Seahawks, like, it probably doesn't even matter if we go on a 2-1 stretch here because I believe we can sweep the Giants with Tommy DeVito at quarterback, and even Daniel Jones at quarterback. I feel very confident against the Giants in New York, in Philadelphia, on Venus, on the moon. I feel very confident. But the Cardinals, The Cardinals have always given us a run for our money, man, and the Cardinals still give me nightmares from 2008. And if you're an Eagles fan, you know what I'm talking about. In 2008 versus the Cardinals, you know what I'm saying? So like that's not going to be easy. So that's not going to be an easy game. And if you want to be real, if this is something little that I noticed. This is something little that I noticed. Again, thank you guys for watching, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Right? The NFC West has been giving us the business this year because we're gonna have to play the Seahawks at home, and we gotta play the Cardinals on the road. So it's just, I'm sorry, the Cardinals at home and the Seahawks on the road. Like that's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy, man. But the Giants, I feel very confident. So even if we go out of these 5 games, if we go 3-2, I feel very confident in us picking up that number 1 seed, just because I don't see the 49ers like getting through this gauntlet unscathed. Now, this is going to be a test for Brock Purdy because I know he's the favorite for the MVP right now, but he has not been through a stretch that tests this man. Look at him. Now Brock Purdy actually has a good list of games, or a gauntlet as y'all call it, to really test him. He has 2 division games. He has a rival, a rival, because the Ravens 49ers are a rival, and I hope he knows that. You know, so he has 3 hard games right here, and then he has the Commanders. That could be or could not be an easy game, because we know what these terrible teams like to do during the last couple weeks of the season. They like to play spoilers. So none of these games are easy, because then they play the Rams the last game of the season. So the 49ers have a much less chance of getting the number 1 seed over the Philadelphia Eagles just based off the strength of schedule alone. And I'm not worried about the Cowboys, because if we beat them, we have a stranglehold on the NFC East, because now they got to go to the Bills, they got to go to the Dolphins, and they got to play the Lions, and they got to play a division game at the end of the year, which is never easy. So I feel very, very confident. And the Lions, and mind you, the Lions are playing some good football this year. But look at this. They have the Bears, the Broncos. That's not going to be an easy game. They have a division game. They got to play the Cowboys, and then they got to play another division game. So I feel very, very, very confident right now in the Eagles securing this number 1 seed just based off this strength of schedule. And again, like, leave your thoughts in the comments, man. Like, tell me what y'all think. Actually, hold on. Sorry, guys. It's my first time using StreamYard, so let me look at the comments. I haven't even taken a look. Hey, Halima. Thank you for showing up. Hey, Cool Eagle. Hey, Halima. Thank you, Halima, for your like support. Thank you. Yeah. So again, so on that, the Eagles have the best chance to win the number 1 seed right now. If we go into Dallas, like, it really won't even matter what we do from the Seahawks to the last Giants game. We can go 3-1 in that last stretch, you know what I'm saying, and still be in a catbird seat. 14-3, 13-4, lock up the number 1 seed. The NFC comes through Philadelphia again. You know what I'm saying? Jalen Hurts' MVP case will be further made. You know what I'm saying? Again, and again, this is not to take away anything from the other quarterbacks, because Brock Purdy is doing what he's supposed to do. He's winning games. He's running the offense like a master. Like, he's mastering the 49ers offense better than like Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion. You know, Brock Purdy looks good, and he's deservedly. It's all right, Halima. It's just Eagles football, and but this is like the playoffs. So I mean, if you're into like sports betting, and in like keeping tabs with like what's going on with the NFC or AFC or in the NFL playoffs, that's pretty much what I'm talking about right now, right? So, so the Eagles have the best chance to get the number 1 seed. I mean, and the other quarterbacks are definitely playing well, and deservedly so, in the MVP conversation. And the Eagles-Cowboys game on Sunday night, I think that's going to be one of the most watched games of the NFL season, just because this literally is going to decide the NFC. Like, I hope y'all know that. Like, this Eagles Cowboys game is going to define the NFC. I don't care what the 49ers do, for the next 5 weeks after this. If the Eagles go in to Arlington AT&T Stadium and beat the Dallas Cowboys, we have a stranglehold on the NFC. Because if we would have won against the 49ers, we could have lost to Dallas, and it would have been an issue because of our next 4 games after them compared to their next 4 games. You know what I'm saying? And then the Lions and the 49ers next 4 games after that, So, but we lost to San Francisco, mindly, pretty bad, right? So now we got to go into Dallas and, and really pull it out and really pull out a win. Because this is going to decide the NFC. Because, again, if you win this game, Philadelphia, you have a stranglehold on the NFC, and the number 1 seed is literally yours to lose for the next month after that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel very confident about this. Again, I'm super excited for Sunday. A lot rides with the teams that are playing on Sunday, especially in the NFC. On the AFC side, I haven't really taken a look too much at it, but I do know Baltimore is still holding that number 1 seed. I'll do another video about that tomorrow, about that breakdown, in case anyone is just really interested and just want a thorough breakdown analysis of that. But moving on, man. So there have been rumors, like especially from the infamous David Carr, for any of you Houston Texans fans or avid football watchers. He was on ESPN talking about Jalen Hurts needs to be benched for Marcus Mariota because somehow he's not healthy or competent enough to master playing offense in the drop back style offense when there's hundreds of film and clips of Jalen Hurts playing in this offense. Jalen Hurts was playing the style of offense at Oklahoma. So the fact that David Carr, we'd have been, man, and let me just talk about David Carr for a minute. I hate when piss poor athletes that didn't do nothing in the NFL. And mind you, I didn't play in the NFL, so obviously y'all could make the argument I'm not as athletic as them because they played in the NFL at a very high level. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, like, they were both Chris Sims and him. I don't know. Look, man, look, like, I don't know who's a bigger bust. Chris Sims, David Carr, or Kwame Brown. Like, I don't know who's the bigger bust in sports out of those 3 because David Carr is always on the front line talking about what another quarterback should be doing. But when your touchdown interception record as a player is 33-61, you are the reason the Houston Texans couldn't do shit in the early 2000s, and you wasted good years of Andre Johnson's career, man. And shout out to Big 81 for Houston Texans, man. He made the Hall of Fame. If he, you know what I'm saying, like, and rightfully so. But you know what I'm saying, like, that man could have had a deep playoff runs or some kind of playoff resume if he didn't have David Carr. You know what I'm saying, like, God dog, man. Like, Mark Brunell could have did better than that, and Mark Brunell was on his last legs around that time. And now you got David Carr, a guy whose touchdown interception ratio is 33 touchdowns to 61 interceptions, is want to talk about Jalen Hurts needs to be benched for a guy who couldn't even win a spot over Desmond Ridder. Are you serious? So you want us, right, after giving this man Jalen Hurts a 4-year, $152 million contract, you want us, a man who's made the All-Pro, you want us, the man that took us to the Super Bowl and played the best performances of a losing quarterback all time, most viewed Super Bowl as of recently, you want us, after one game, to bench our franchise quarterback. After one game. Like, you want us to even entertain the idea of that, not just having a bad take, because there's a difference with having a bad take and just saying shit just to say shit. Why would you, anybody that even watches sports for 5 minutes a Sunday can tell you that benching Jalen Hurts is a dumb idea. when we know what Jalen Hurts represents on this team and off the field of football as a leader in his community. You know what I'm saying? Battling from the bottom to the top. Like, and it's just guys like David Carr that just ruin everybody. And the media, I'm starting to really think the media is actually getting paid off these rage takes. And what I mean by rage takes is that they'll say something that makes no sense, but they'll put it out in the atmosphere to a particular fan base because they know as Eagles fans, we are super passionate about our team. Even we are the only team in the NFL that booed a 10-1 team. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were 10-1 and they were playing like shit, the fans wouldn't be as, in an uproar like that. If the Carolina Panthers were 10-1, their fans will be acting like that. But in Philadelphia, if you 10-1 and you bring a product out there that is not up to our standard, you're getting booed. You're getting booed. I remember I was at the NFC Championship game last year in Philadelphia versus the 49ers when we knocked out Brock Purdy. And I remember when on the next drive, they gave up a touchdown to Christian McCaffrey, and the whole stadium just booed. And mind you, like the game was pretty much over when Brock Purdy was done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, the 49ers will continue to harp that if they had their starting quarterback, they would have beat us. But, whose fault is it that your quarterback couldn't protect himself? Whose fault is it that the organization, the coaching staff didn't set the right protection? That's the football. The Eagles beat you. Okay, not just Jalen Hurts, okay? Because the defense was really literally made a game-changing play. You know what I'm saying? But even when Christian McCaffrey scored and we were already up like 17-7, we booed the hell out this team because that's not up to our standard of football. That's not what people pay season ticket prices for. This is not what people pay for. They want to see the product that's advertised. You know what I'm saying? We're the only franchise that keeps our team really, really accountable like this. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the fact that you're saying that Jalen Hurts needs to get benched, like as a fan base, I know at least 90% of us were just like, because you do have those fans that are still in the Carson Wentz era from 2017 and on. I mean, and mind you, I'm still a Carson Wentz guy too. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Carson Wentz. I got his Los Angeles Rams on the way now. You know what I'm saying? The only jersey that I didn't get of Carson Wentz was the Commanders, obviously, because they're in my division. I'm not going to get a division rival jersey. No. even though I was a fan of Marion Barber back in the day too. But again, this is not about that. This is about why David Carr would say such blasphemy as to why you want Marcus Mariota, a guy who couldn't win over a rookie who got benched almost as much as Mac Jones this year and couldn't win a job over him. And I'm not taking anything away from Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota has had a pretty solid career. Like, just believe it or not. I mean, he took the Titans to the playoffs a couple times. He's made a few good plays in his career. Now, mind you, his touchdown interception percentage isn't what you wanted, but he's been an exciting quarterback for like the last part of his career. You know what I'm saying? So, but to say that Jalen Hurts isn't as competent as a quarterback as Marcus Mariota, it's just ridiculous to me. And the fact that you would even just say some dumb shit like that, it's just why a lot of people like to go to different outlets for media now. Because now you got mainstream media wanting to make these rage takes to excite a fan base just for clicks and views. And, because, nowadays people get paid off engagement. You know what I'm saying? If you get 1 million views off your tweets, I'm sure that you get some kind of compensation for that. You know what I'm saying? So who's to say David Carr and other members of the media aren't just making these completely just ridiculous takes, for the sake of trying to make some money here and there. So it's good to excite Eagles fans because that they're going to react. Like I'm sure David Carr knows people are going to bring up his career with the Houston Texans, his touchdown interception ratio for a career. You know what I'm saying? Like all that good stuff. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous, man. And again, I leave you guys his thoughts and love in the comments, man. I'm about to get out of here because I got more content to make. We got to react to this Last Word podcast with Law Nation, Lord Brunson, Philly Castro, Big Game James in the latter. Because man, Cowboys fans are just so delusional, and we're going to further expose that on this channel. So be tuned for a stream later on. Again, guys, like, subscribe. Love doing this with you guys. And we just got more content coming on the way. Hope you guys doing well out there. Stay safe, man. And again, man, until we meet again, Cool Eagle is out here.